Pacers Pistons tonight in Detroit. Great opportunity for the Pacers to get back on track, how they can win, the struggles in doing so. We'll take on all that today on the Locked On Pacers podcast. Plus, the Mad Ants, the Pacers G League team, their season is underway. I got to watch them today live at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. We'll look at the two-way players, why you should care about the Mad Ants, who the key guys are with Zach Pearson. Lots to get to on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers as always. My name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and the West Side Community News. And today it is game day. We got Pacers Pistons tonight in Detroit, a team that the Pacers have randomly struggled with in recent seasons. They got swept, I think, 2 seasons ago, and Blake Griffin was still on Detroit, even though they were clearly the better team. And I think they swept them last year, but we're still randomly struggling to beat them easily last year. So while the Pistons do stink, not necessarily the easiest game for the Pacers. We'll take a look at that game in preview tonight. Then the Mad Ants season, the Fort Wayne Mad Ants Pacers G League affiliate season is underway. Got to see them live in Gainbridge Fieldhouse today. Both Pacers two-way guys played. Isaiah Jackson was there. Pacers assistant coach Tom Hankins was there. Lots of stuff to talk about with the Mad Ants this season, what to watch for, who's standing out so far, and all that kind of stuff, and why you should care about the Mad Ants as a Pacers fan. So lots to get to today. Let's start with the NBA side. Pacers Pistons in Detroit tonight. The Pistons, I'm finally ready to go through these sort of numbers. We are a month into the season officially. Well, we're 1 day away, but the Pacers don't play until Friday again, so I'm going to use today as the barometer for 1 day away of a month into the season. It's still not great, but I'm a little more comfortable using teams' advanced stats to kind of talk about who they are. And the Detroit Pistons, Dwayne Casey's Detroit Pistons, are 28th in offense. Yuck. 23rd in defense. Dead last. 30th in net rating. One of the worst records in the league at 3-10. They have not looked awesome this year. They beat the Houston Rockets in the Jalen Green versus Cade Cunningham derby. They beat the Orlando Magic, two dwellers, and they randomly a couple days ago beat the Raptors. So they're rounding into form. Cade Cunningham returned from injury and made them a little better, but they lost Kelly Olynyk, their prized summer signing, at about the same time. So they're a struggling team. And when you look at them, one thing stands out to me, and that is the Pistons are last in three-point percentage. They are under 30%. They hit 29.5% of their three-pointers this season. That's a very lazy stat to start with, but under 30% from three is atrocious. It's just completely terrible. They're the only team in the league under 30%. In fact, they're barely, because the Thunder are the only team under 31%, and only two teams are under 32%. So they are really a bad three-point shooting team. No one is even close to them there. And when you look at their roster, it makes a lot of sense. Like Jeremy Grant's their star. He's not a great shooter. All their young guys that they're taking flyers on are not great shooters. And Kelly Olynyk, who they added, who has been a good shooter in the past, only at 34% this season. Killian Hayes has been their best three-point shooter this season at 38%. Everyone else below league average. So one key for the Pacers in this game is stay down on closeouts, good closeouts, because don't let these guys shot fake you and get to the rim. And Miles Turner is excellent at deterring those situations and making sure that the defense can still run smoothly, but they're not a good enough shooting team to be flying out on these closeouts in a way that allows the Pistons to put it on the floor and get to the rim, where they're a little bit better. You know, inside the arc, they're still not great, but they get up a lot of two-point attempts. They're good at getting to the line. They're 6th in the league in free throw attempts, right? That is probably one of the strengths of this Detroit team. And the reason they're not near the dwellings of the offensive rating department is because they're good at getting to the line, which is efficient shots, efficient ways to score. So that's going to be one key for the Pacers in this game, making sure that closeouts on shooters are good. Not even necessarily defending the three-point line well. If they leave a guy open by accident, it might not be the end of the world, but get the right defense on those guys. Being the right distance away from them is going to be key. They have some good rim attackers, or some decent rim attackers, that make it so those guys might be open away from the play. Just good closeouts will be key for the Pacers in this game. The other thing the Pistons excel at, this is a weird balance thing to look at. If you looked at their rebounding, you'd see that they're 29th in total rebounds per game, which looks terrible. And they're 30th in defensive rebounds per game. They don't have a lot of opportunities. It's part of why their defense is so bad this year. They give up a lot of made shots. But they're 5th in offensive rebounds per game. That really inflates their rebounding rates in general, but they're not a bad offensive rebounding team. Saddiq Bey's been up over 2 all season. Beef Stew, Isaiah Stewart's looking good on the offensive glass all season, right? They have guys who are good on the offensive glass, so it's going to be important for everybody to be boxing out, especially the bigs. Turner's had 2 weak rebounding games in a row, so if it's Turner versus Stewart, it's going to be important that Miles gets it done on the glass, but the guards have to be better, especially if Saddiq Bey is getting a lot. Cade Cunningham's getting 1.5 a game. Trey Lyles, Jeremy Grant, Luka Garza, all at 1 or more per game. All these guards and forwards need to be focused on their rebounding. The Pacers have been good on the glass this year, especially compared to last season's, but a little bit of slip up in the last couple games in that department. And offensive rebounds are a killer way to give up points and things like that. But yeah, the Pistons offense is just not very good. They rely a lot on streaky shooting and defense to get their wins so far. I mean, even in their wins, they scored only 112, which is still a good amount, but to beat Houston, in their other win over Orlando, 110, and then they scored a ton on the Raptors, but they typically have been, in the below 100 range this year. Points per game, they are last in the league at 98.3, right? So tough for them to get scoring. It's going to be key for the Pacers to make sure that remains the case, because they do force a lot of turnovers. They force the 4th most in the league. They prevent the other team from getting offensive rebounds, right? Only 8.6 per game for Pistons opponents. Some of that is because the Pistons opponents shoot very well, but still they give up the highest 3-point percentage in the league by a mile, 41%. That's just bad luck. Like that number is high because of bad defense, yes, but 41% shooting from opposing teams from deep for Detroit, that is unsustainably horrible, right? That number will come down a little bit. Their defense is better than the numbers say. That's why in a month into the season, advanced stats can be a little wonky, but yeah, they give up a lot of open threes. That's been killing them this season. They don't have great rim protection in general. So they're just a young team that's developing, and Cade looks good when he plays. He's got a lot in his bag that he can do despite struggling to finish really early in his career. But outside of him, they have some role guys who are still learning what to do, learning how to play together. A lot of new, well, not a lot of new, but some new this season. Frank Jackson didn't play a lot for them last year. Cade's new, Olenek's new, Trey Lyles is new. They're all playing basically every game. So a big chunk of their rotation is new, as they try to figure out this team and figure out what they can be. And that's where the Pacers can slide in these gaps, because they make a lot of defensive mistakes. They don't have good shooters. They're just a very easy team to bog down and get going on. That's why they're 3-10. So that the keys for the Pacers to me are like I said, one, good closeouts on shooters. Don't let the Pistons drive. Don't let them get inside and be that free throw team that they want to be. And then on the offensive end, try to make sure you're getting it to those shooters, because the Pistons are a good offensive rebounding team. They're going to try to be a possession game, try to out-efficiency them in that case. Their offensive 4 factors, their 2 good things are free throws and rebounds. Their defensive 4 factors, their good things are just turnovers, right? They try to be that possession team that can get to the line. Don't let them out-possession you. The glass will be important. Miles Turner, who has been playing well, needs to step up in that way. The guards and the forwards do as well. But this Detroit team should be a team the Pacers can beat. I mean, I don't think they're as bad necessarily as the record says, mostly because of that insane 3-point percentage you're giving up, but they're like a 4 out of every 15 games win team to me. Like they're not very good. They should win probably like 20 games this season, so a little higher than I just said actually, but they're just not very good, and the Pacers need to capitalize on that. There's not a matchup, especially when you look at this game one-on-one. Like you look at the Knicks game and you see how quickly, because he's so shifty, right? Brogdon really struggles guarding that particular skill, or Julius Randle's kind of that bowling ball forward that the Pacers really struggle with, right? The Knicks have guys that there are matchups you go, okay, that would scare the Pacers, or that's a reason the Knicks can get an advantage at times in this game. The Pistons don't really have anyone of that. Jeremy Grant can be that mold, but he's just a little too skinny for me to call him powerful. I think they can get enough to slow him down and prevent him from going off, although if he's hitting his threes, he could be dangerous. But the Pistons just team-wise and personnel-wise don't have quite enough threats for me to think that they can beat this Pacers team, especially a mad Pacers team coming off of a loss that they probably feel like they should have had against the Knicks, only scoring 10 points the entire 4th quarter in New York. Tough loss that every player on the team who did media after that game thought they should have won that one, or at least found better ways to score down the stretch. So I am confident the Pacers are better than the Pistons in basically every way if they play their game and play the pace that they want. And they haven't for a while, at least, played to the level of their competition the way they did early in the season. So I think the Pacers should win, get to 7-9. If they don't, I'm sure there will be lots of skies falling takes, and likely should be. This is the worst team they've played all season by a mile. This is the first bad team that the Pacers have played this season. Every team they've played before this has been at least trying to be good or isn't in a situation where they just got a high draft pick combined with a bad team. This team is bad, and they will be bad for a couple more years. The Pacers need to capitalize and get this win because their schedule has been really tough. So I predict they'll win, but this team has surprised us this season. We will see what happens. Let's talk about the Mad Ants. Zach Pearson from 8.9 seconds is going to help me do that. He was at Mad Ants Media Day, and I wasn't. So he's got all the details there. Watching the Mad Ants today in Gainbridge Fieldhouse was super fun. So lots to get to about that team, about their start so far, about the two-way guys, Isaiah Jackson and his health status. He's the Pacers forward. He's rehab assignmenting with them right now. So lots to get to there. But first, I got to talk to you guys about two great groups of people. First up, the good folks over at Calm, because you don't know what makes LeBron James King James. It is sleep. That's right. Sleep is his superpower. Calm is the number one app for sleep and meditation, and it is teamed up with LeBron to help you activate the power of sleep. When it comes to athletes, we always focus on physical health, but there's always the side of the game that's just important, and that is mental fitness. Calm is the number one app for sleep and meditation, and they've teamed up with LeBron to help train your mind and become the champion version of yourself. Calm can help you train your brain so you sleep better, reduce stress, and perform at your best. The mind is just like any other muscle in your body. You don't have to be a champion to learn how to train it. LeBron says sleep is a critical part of his fitness routine. He says getting good sleep and finding time to rest is one of the most valuable things I can do for my body and mind. From the sound of rain falling on leaves to bedtime sleep stories, Calm puts me to sleep within minutes, which means I wake up ready for any challenge. So if you can head to calm.com/LockedOnNBA, you can get 40% off a Calm premium subscription. Again, for a limited time, our listeners can join LeBron in using Calm and get a 40% discount on a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/LockedOnNBA. Unlock content to help you focus, ease stress, and sleep better. Get started at calm.com/LockedOnNBA. That's calm, calm.com/LockedOnNBA. And it's Locked On Pacers. So, of course, got to talk to you guys about Built Bar. I got another tweet today, literally earlier today, from someone who got new Built Bars. I believe it was salted caramel, and loved them and enjoyed them, and had to tell me these are the best product for best protein bars on the market. You really have to try them. 100% covered in chocolate, delicious protein bars. The first protein bars that aren't disgusting. I had other protein bars I used to bring to work with me before I discovered Built Bars that I begrudgingly ate at work, but now Built Bars has made that not a begrudging experience. I love them. They're delicious. They're great for the health conscious guy, and they have a bunch of flavors that can help you around Thanksgiving, right? One slice of pie has like 300 or more calories on the low end. Built Bars are only 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, plenty of protein. Replace that coconut cream pie with the coconut Built Bar. Low calorie, low carb, low fat, high protein, 100% covered in chocolate protein bars. Try them today. Go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off your order. That promo code again is LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. All right. Zach Pearson is here now to help me talk about the Mad Ants and their early season stuff. For those of you on YouTube, you can see Zach is in his car because he had to travel home from Pacers Mad Ants today all the way back to Dayton. Dedicated coverage from Mr. Pearson. So looking dark and creepy, but I love it. Dedication to this podcast. You love to see it. Zach, man, how's it going?
Doing good, man. Do what we got to do. So I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, yeah, Zach was there as well as the Mad Ants smoked the Cleveland Charge in Gainbridge Fieldhouse today. It wasn't even close. I don't want to get into a recap of a Mad Ants game, but I do want to talk about the Mad Ants season so far. And I want to zoom out a little bit because sometimes people forget about the Mad Ants or don't care about them in relation to the Pacers. I think that is not smart. I mean, just going through the current era of the Pacers front office with Pritchard in charge, we've seen guys like O'Shea Brissett and Edmund Sumner come up just through the G League and grow into a player that is helpful for the Pacers. We've also seen guys like Goga go down for useful assignments. Jakar Sampson, Isaiah Jackson is there right now. Alize Johnson very frequently went down to the Mad Ants. So one reason to really care about those games and that team is they're actually Pacers players doing well and helping this team succeed. Two, the head coach of the Mad Ants is Tom Hankins. He's an assistant coach for the Pacers. You've probably seen him on the sidelines for Pacers games when the Mad Ants aren't playing. They have a lot of front office ties. The old Mad Ants GM is now a scout for the Pacers. The ties go on and on. So it's very important for the Pacers' growth that this Mad Ants team does well. And Zach, we saw it today. A lot of these guys who are fighting for NBA spots, Terry Taylor, the two-way guys, Kiefer Sykes, they all looked pretty good in this game. So has any player stood out to you so far for the 3 games of this Mad Ants season?
Well, yeah, I think Kiefer Sykes has been pretty incredible. you look at a lot of the questions today asked in media were just kind of surrounding the assists that was going on the first 3 games of the season. And he's a big part of that. I think he had 15 his first 2 games, and then he had 9 tonight. So he's been a great facilitator, getting guys the ball, and then he's also scoring well. He had 20 points tonight. Obviously, Dwayne Washington Jr. had 24 as well. He led the team. So, I mean, they both look great. But, yeah, Kiefer Sykes has been – and I talked to him at Media Day about this as well. Like, what did he want his role to be this season? And, he was very unselfish. He wanted to get other people the ball, and that's one of the things he was talking about. So he's doing that. 9 assists today. And 15 total, I think, the first 2 games. So he's been doing great at that.
Yeah, Kiefer is one of the guys that will probably all season long deserve a lot of focus just because he was in camp with the Pacers. And to me, those kind of guys, we saw that, or maybe not with O'Shea necessarily, but those kind of guys have a leg up in that they've already been to camp with the Pacers, right? They have that familiarity. So every season it feels like this team does a call up. O'Shea last year, Stephon Hicks, Trey McKinney-Jones, Ben Moore. I'm trying to think if I'm missing any, but every year some guy from the Mad Ants gets called up. And if like Ben Moore stuck till the next season, obviously O'Shea is still on the roster. Like a lot of times these guys are important. So guys like Kiefer who are really standing out, and he was in camp with the Pacers, like I said, it's really important, right? Keep up with them, see what they're doing, how they could potentially fit in with this team, especially because like Brad Wanamaker hasn't been that awesome for the Pacers so far. Like maybe they want to change their point guard rotation. And Kiefer was awesome in this game today. He was leading the charge with the passing. The guy that I was asking all my questions about, as Zach can attest to, probably too many questions. Actually, I was being a little story driven about this. Is Terry Taylor? Terry Taylor, like Kiefer Sykes, was in training camp with the Pacers, and Taylor has been putting up just like disgustingly good rebounding numbers. He had 15 today against the Charge. He was averaging over 15 in his first 2 games. He's actually first in the G League in rebounds. That doesn't mean a lot to you if you don't know who Terry Taylor is. But let me tell you who Terry Taylor is. He went to a draft workout with the Pacers. He was on their preseason roster. He averaged a double-double in college, 20 points and 10 rebounds per game. Oh, and he's 6'5". He's getting 10, 15 rebounds every game at 6'5". Like half of them are on offense, and he's kicking out to shooters. It's one of the most impressive things I've seen. Tom Hankins said he'd never really seen anyone of that height be that good at rebounding besides maybe Jeroen Jones, who's in the Bucks organization. So he's really stood out to me, and why I like him so much is that's a skill that, one, the Pacers have stunk at in recent seasons, and 2, he plays a position on the wing that you can never have enough of. He can guard stockier wings because of his size. So have you liked what you've seen from Taylor so far in 3 games?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's averaging 15 and a half rebounds a game. He had 15 tonight. That's valuable in a lot of ways. And like you said, the Pacers don't really have a specific guy that gets just rebounds. I mean, obviously, Domantas Sabonis is the double guy, and Turner better at that this season. But this is kind of the first year that he's at, and Taylor, he's a fun guy to watch. At Seek Havoc on the glass. He's been impressive.
Comparatively, like Alize Johnson was similar in the G League, where every time you'd see a stat, you're like, dude had 20 rebounds in this game. Like comparatively, I think Taylor is a better rebounder than Alize. He's just 6 inches shorter, so he can't do it as much or as often just because he's got that limitation. But he has been far and away, to me, the most impressive Mad Ant so far, and I think he's got the best shot to actually make a team this year or get some sort of 2-way call-up, because those kind of numbers always get noticed. And big men can always get call-ups if they're really good on the glass in the G League, but he's not a big man. He's a forward. Like you don't right. Players like this just don't really exist. It's hard to explain. He was this is like fake looking, but he was a plus 44 against the Charge today. I mean, they smoked him, but it was crazy to see. The last guy I want to highlight, he had 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in the game we watched. That's Justin Anderson. And the reason I want to highlight him is, 1, he got a late Exhibit 10 from the Pacers, and 2, he played for Rick Carlisle in Dallas. So he's got some familiarity with his coaching style, the way he likes to play. He's also a wing, and he looks like, to me, their leader. Like he's calling out a lot of where guys need to go and cuts. So outside of point guards, at least he's their leader, and he's a really effective scorer as well. So just because of his familiarity with Carlisle, right? He was in the Mavs rotation when they were in the playoffs in 2016. I think he's a guy to watch out for that could be a call up at some point, and I just like he was a first round pick before he joined the league. I like the way he scores. I like his defense. I think he's a pretty solid player for this team as well.
Yeah, Justin Anderson, he's been fun, and he had a couple dunks today as well that were pretty athletic in transition. They were fun to watch. So yeah, he's kind of like in that Lance Stevenson kind of bubble of G League talent that's fun to watch, and you just kind of root for him. And I talked when I was at the NBA Media Day talking to Jeroen Sykes. He said, Anderson and him are kind of taking that leadership role. I also talked to their first round draft pick, Gabe York, and he was kind of in that same conversation, just being real vocal. So they said that was very useful in terms of the chemistry right away. So having a guy that's an NBA vet on this Mad Ants team is helpful. And you see what they did today. I mean, they were up 30 points at one point. So I mean, his value is pretty big.
I think they almost got up 50 in the third quarter.
Yeah, it was probably closer to that. It was pretty crazy. The fourth quarter is kind of when they just let them kind of come back, but it wasn't close.
The Pacers this season have trained me to always be looking at the scoreboard because every game's so close. Yeah. I think I looked at the score of this Mad Ants game like twice. Like they were up by so much. I was like, I don't need to look. I know they're winning. And I sat. You could see me, Zach, but I sat like right next to the Cleveland Chargers bench, so I could hear their coaches and what they were saying and their vibe around the game, and they were not as happy as coaching staff. So just because of that too, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, the Mad Ants are definitely winning this game. Perhaps the biggest direct reason for Pacer Mad Ant connections for people to tune in to this team to see what they're doing, and the biggest advantage that is provided to the Pacers by the Mad Ants is the resource they have for literal players on the Pacers roster to go play for them, right? They have two-way guys who are there all the time. I think since the Mad Ants season started, DeJon Jarreau and Dwayne Washington have been called up only once. And currently, Isaiah Jackson's with the Mad Ants. So I want to talk about those two guys with the Mad Ants really quick. But first, I got to talk to you guys about BetOnline.ag, the best and way to bet on sports online. They have a new web interface for the start of basketball season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head over to their new updated desktop or mobile website. Sign up today. Receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON, all one word. You'll receive that 50% welcome bonus. They've got basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Do not wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. The two-way guys are the interesting story, Zach, and you were at Media Day. I think these guys were there. I think you saw the personality DeJon Jarreau brings to just like every single thing he does. He's from New Orleans, and he does this dance called the gritty, where he's kind of like hopping while he's walking all the time. So he's just a delightful guy. Dwayne Washington is pretty good. We'll talk about him too. And then Isaiah Jackson's with the Mad Ants right now. We both saw him warming up before both halves, shooting jumpers. He looks pretty good. There's a chance, in fact, I think the expectation is that he's going to play for the Mad Ants on Wednesday. So if you're listening to this before noon, you can watch the Mad Ants game for free on the Mad Ants website to watch Isaiah Jackson playing a game for the first time in like 3.5 weeks, which is pretty cool. So that's the biggest resource for the Pacers that the Mad Ants can be, is these guys to play. So let's start with Dwayne, because he's been really good. He had 24 in this game we just watched, hit 4 of 10 from deep, 3 assists as well. He was creating a little bit with the ball. And he's even been in Carlisle's like rotation. That's a little bit wrong, but he came in for a couple seconds for defense in the half. I forget which game it was for this Pacer team. Carlisle called his number, and then he played against Brooklyn, and they were down by just 9 in the fourth quarter. The other game he came in for was the Spurs. I could not remember what it was. He scored 5 points in that game, right? So he's shown in the NBA he can be a little effective, to the point that some people think, hey, maybe this guy should play instead of Brad Wanamaker. I don't know if I'm there yet. Even Wanamaker put up 22 and 5 in the G League, but Dwayne Washington looks pretty good. And Zach, I think we saw on display what this guy can be in the pro level.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he shot 4 from 10 tonight. I mean, he had 21 shot attempts tonight, made 10 of them. It's when they go in, like Coach Hankins said, that he's really good. And 4 threes is big. He had 24 points and he was a plus 41, which is crazy to me. But One thing he was talking about, Coach Hankins, after the game, was he said that he wanted him to be more of a facilitator, kind of distribute the ball more, and that's kind of his next step. So if he can shoot the ball at the same level, which is pretty good so far, that taking that next step will make him just that much better. And he's getting great development here in the G League, so look to see more big games out of him if he can keep shooting the ball well.
Yeah, at Ohio State, he was not a good passer. He was a really good scorer. There's a reason he got the NBA call, but not a good passer. In their Madden's first game, he had 22 points, only 2 assists. In their second game, he once again 15 points and 3 assists. So the passing isn't quite there, but the scoring certainly is. And like I always talk about how easy it is for G League guys to really thrive, or G League big guys, to really thrive at that level. Benny Boatwright's looked pretty good, for example, for the Madden so far. But for guards, it's a little tougher. Like guards try to score a lot in the G League level to try to prove themselves or try to stand out and grow into a pro. Dwayne is doing that, though. He is a head and shoulders score level above a lot of these other guys. There's a reason Carlisle trusts him a little more than DeJon or other two-way guys. So he's looked really impressive. His shot's legit. I think that if called upon or needed by the Pacers, he could be a three-point threat. I don't know if he would ever play. That would require a lot of unfortunate circumstance for the Pacers team, but he's looked pretty good. On the other hand, DeJon doesn't play much. It's kind of hard to get a feel for what he's going to be or what the Pacers see in him, because with the Mad Ants, he's the backup to Kiefer, and even when he is in, sometimes they create with Justin Anderson or they create with Dwayne when he's in there. Like, he's a good defender, I think, but his stats certainly don't suggest that he is going to be a great offensive player at the G League level.
Yeah, I mean, when Kiefer Sykes is playing as good as he is, it's kind of hard to squeeze in, DeJon Jarreau. But he played 13 minutes tonight, and he only had one shot made. But the Mad Ants have a lot of games, so you don't know what he's got. Maybe he can step up if Kiefer's maybe hurt, and he can prove himself that way to find more time. But the starting group for the Mad Ants are playing really well. And when you add Dwayne Washington Jr. into the mix when he's not with the Pacers, that's a pretty strong starting five there. And if Terry Taylor and some of the other guys are doing the other things pretty well, it's going to be harder for him. But, it is a longer season, so we'll see what happens with DeJon.
Isaiah Jackson, like I said, rehabbing from his hyperextended right knee, is expected to play with this Mad Ants team on Wednesday. I'm excited to watch what he can do. And even without knowing the plays, and he might know the plays, I didn't get to ask Tom Hankins how similar his system is to Rick Carlisle's. It looks similar just from watching Hankins talking about after the game how they really try to get rim pressure to create a lot of the rest of their offense. But I mean, Jackson could just get 20 and 10 by just like showing up in the gym. He should be that much better than everybody else. Even guys like TJ Leaf, Goga, Jakar, like they put up ridiculous stats in the G League on their assignments in the past. So it'll be fun to see him play and fun to see how good he is. I don't have a ton of insight on how he'll look with this team because he's never played with them. I only saw him shoot, I think, 3 jumpers during halftime warmups and didn't get to speak with Isaiah. So I don't know a ton here. I don't have a ton of insight there, but this is like what the Mad Ants are for, to see these guys. Part of what the Mad Ants are for, is to see them go through this. Another, and the final guy I wanted to ask you about, Zach, is Gabe York. We didn't see him at all. He was the 3rd pick in the G League draft. We didn't see him at all against the Charge. You talked to him at Media Day. What kind of vibe do you get from him? What kind of skills do you think he can bring to this team?
Yeah, he's ready to prove himself. He hasn't got, I don't think he played tonight. He was inactive. But when I was talking to him at Media Day, I asked him about the chemistry of the team and, what his goals are for the team. And he was just basically said, I want to prove that their pick wasn't wasted. He's got a sharp mentality. I think he's 28 years old, so he's a vet. He's played in the G League before. I forget which team he was on previously. But yeah, no, he's ready to prove himself when he gets the opportunity. He said he wanted to expand on his game as more than just a shooter. He says most people expect him to just shoot the ball, but he wants to go out there and pass and get other guys shots and do the little things. So he's very motivated. So when he gets out there, I'm sure it will be exciting. I don't know exactly when that will be, but yeah, he's got a strong mentality, and he's definitely ready to prove himself.
Yeah, another guard. So I think that getting him minutes will be tough. He played in the first Man's preseason game for like 9-10 minutes, but that's his only appearance so far this season. Was that game? Only took one shot, only one assist. Right? He hasn't played much, and I think that might be a thing that happens for a while. They didn't draft him for this year. Like the G League draft is a project thing. Despite the Mad Ants only having one holdover from last year in Daxter Miles, they can actually keep the rights of these guys for more than 1 year. So I think that maybe they would like to see York for more seasons. But yeah, right now we talked about Jeroen Sykes being in point guards already. Like it's going to be hard for him to play much at all. So unsurprising that he doesn't play much. It's just, I don't know what to expect from him, but excellent score in his other two G League seasons with the Erie Bayhawks in 2017.
Right.
He scored 16 a game. The Lakeland Magic 2 years later, he was at 16 and a half points per game. He went to Arizona for college. So another guy to watch out for, right? The Pacers love to call up dudes who stand out with this Mad Ants team. And I think so far, basically the Exhibit 10 guys have stood out to me the most, and Benny Boatwright looked pretty good
Yeah.
in this game. So I think they all have the best shots. Did you talk to Boatwright at Media Day as well?
Yeah, actually, I did. It was a shorter kind of interview because he had just finished up with another guy, but I did get an update on his injury from summer league, which was a dislocated kneecap, and so he said he was it was pretty painful. Obviously, he was sidelined for the rest of the summer league. Yeah, he's ready to get out there and show what he can do. He's off to a strong start. If you remember there in the first quarter, he had like 6 points, I think, and then obviously had that injury. So he looked good this game, a double as well. So yeah, no, Boatwright, he's exciting, and will also be fun to watch in this starting five.
Comfortable screen and roll guy, 11 points and 13 rebounds in the game we just saw. So lots of interestingly good Mad Ants players, lots of guys to keep up with this season. But if you want to tune in, first of all, check who's playing, check what Pacers are going to be there in the 2A guys. But two, really keep an eye on Kiefer Sykes, because going forward, if I'm just musing, like if Brad Wanamaker can't click with this team, it's not impossible to me that they cut him and then convert Dwayne Washington to a minimum deal and then get Kiefer on a 2-way, or just sign Kiefer outright.
Yep.
Right? They still like to have that third veteran point guard, or maybe they like to get Terry Taylor in the mix on a 10-day if they open a roster spot. And they also have O'Shea and Keelan on not fully guaranteed deals as well, although they're both looking like they're worth more than that. But there are ways the Pacers can open a spot. So just checking how those guys that make the most sense, which to me right now would be Taylor and Sykes, and even the 2A guys getting converted, how do they look? How can they help the Pacers if they get called up is definitely worth tuning in for. And they play again tomorrow, so lots of opportunities.
Yeah, it's exciting, man. Is Isaiah Jackson on a minutes restriction, do we think?
Yeah, I don't think it's official that they know he's going to play yet, so I would imagine he is. I mean, he hasn't done any game action in several days. Yeah, that's probably going to be the story of Wednesday's game, is how he looks and what comes back for him, because he could give the Pacers that dimension they don't have with the bench. They go to these Goga Sabonis minutes all the time that have been working defensively, but Isaiah Jackson instead of Goga can make those a little better and more effective. So seeing him get back could be good. And I don't know that he'll be on a minutes restriction, but Carlisle said before this road trip the Pacers are on right now started that Isaiah Jackson could get a call up back to join the team on the road trip. So I would guess he plays a fair amount and then gets brought to the Pacers and doesn't play the rest of the road trip, but is still with the team. That's my prediction.
Well, yeah, that'd be good because, it was good to see him out there, shooting around. I didn't know what his status was before seeing him out there, so it's good to see him jumping and getting some shots up. So hopefully, he has a good game tomorrow, and I guess, we'll see what happens with him.
So Zach, sort of on the Mad Ants beat this year, where can people follow you and all your stuff as you continue to cover this team?
Yeah, so I'm at 8.9seconds.com, at ZA Pearson NBA on Twitter, and I look forward to covering the team.
It's going to be fun. Keep going up with the Mad Ants and Zach this year. Zach, thank you for the time. This podcast, as you know, on Twitter at Locked On Pacers, me at T East NBA. We'll be back tomorrow to recap Pacers Pistons, look at some other key storylines going on from around this Pacers team. So hope you guys can tune in for that. Thanks for listening today, and we will see you tomorrow.